everyone. Welcome to another edition of That's Cool, and I have something really cool, and I thought I'd throw weather in a little bit on this time. I haven't been giving you enough weather stuff, so let's go ahead and take a look. And this is earth.nullschool.net, and this gives you a look pretty much of what the weather is doing across the entire planet. And you have different fields, and it's just great. It's really cool, some of the things you can see. For example, and right now I have wind streams and wind arrows on this, and we're looking at two storm systems out in the Pacific with an occluded front right here. And you can see how there's a front that is occluded, dying off. It links up to another storm system, which again looks occluded. Look at the dry air wrapping on in and the strong winds around that storm system. And the one thing you may have noticed is the pressure changes and the wind is stronger around areas of low pressure. How can you tell this is an area of low pressure? Well, with a low pressure system, the wind spirals in the northern hemisphere in a counterclockwise direction, and the pressure changes more around the low. We also get unsettled around the low, and that is why some people say, oh, whenever it rains, I can tell it's going to rain, my joints ache, because low pressure usually has the unsettled with it, and the pressure changes more around the low, and the wind is stronger around the low than a high. So if you're looking for a way to see if your aches and pains are going to hurt, don't listen to whether we say it's going to be raining or not. Listen to whether we think it's going to be windy. So let's show you a high pressure system. This is the Pacific High. I'll get that out. And you see how the wind is stronger away from the high, and in the center is calmer. The pressure changes more away from the center of high, closer to where the temperature changes more, which is along fronts and low pressure systems. You can see the easterlies that flow along the Pacific Ocean. And these are the northeast trade winds. Here's the southeast trade winds. They meet at what we call the intertropical convergence zone, which is down in the Pacific Ocean. There's just so many cool things to see on this. And not only, if you click, once you go to this website, and again, it's earth.nullschool.net, nullschool.net. You can also change some parameters. So let's look at temperatures with the wind. And let's go back to the earth. And there's the low pressure centers, and pulling some cold air on the north, warm air to the south. You can see the warm tropics, warmth in the United States. And we don't, this is the time of the year without much temperature difference in the United States. Look at the lack of wind. Most of the wind is actually in the western high plains. Not much wind here in the east. And up in Canada, we have a, let's look, what is this spinning there? And I know, but I want to share the experience with you. That is an area of low pressure and some cool air getting pulled into Canada. They just had some snow in northern Canada. It's the time of the year. The sun angle is getting lower, and that means that there's a better chance of some cooler air masses to make it up into northern Canada. So we have a low pressure system there. Let's go ahead and take a look at Greenland. This is one of my favorite places to look at on this. So there's temperatures, and again, it's pretty cold. And when the surface temperature is colder, it's usually an area of high pressure. So we have the coldest air over the center of the ice sheet in the middle of Greenland. And then, have high pressure there, and air kind of spreads off of the island, big island, but it is an island. And you can see the warmth that is along the edges of Greenland. They've had a lot of melting this year. Still cold in the middle. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. You can see that where the center of the high pressure system is, right in the center of the ice sheets. We do have a couple of storm systems that are in or north of Europe. Look at that storm system. All right, one that's getting ready to move on to the coast of Norway. There's Iceland. Iceland is always the, Iceland, even though it has the word ice in it, is the warmer of the two islands. Greenland is the colder. And there's a storm system out in the Atlantic. A lot of heat over the tropical zones in Middle East and Northern Africa. And it is currently winter over Antarctica. And you can see the extreme cold there. And again, center of the ice sheet, we have a high pressure system here. We do have a couple of storm systems. Now remember, It is the other way around in the southern hemisphere. So this here is a high. It is counterclockwise. This here is a low with clockwise because of the rotational speed of the Earth and the difference between the poles. So the highs and low pressure systems, big systems, do go the other way in the southern hemisphere. But look at all that cold over Antarctica. And again, we're pulling out of our summer, they're pulling out of their winter. And you can see where the mountains in South America are and how there's kind of a wind barrier there. And the reason why, I'll explain something, I'm touching a lot of cool things. The ozone hole, you heard about that. The reason why the ozone hole would form over the South Pole is because it becomes so isolated because you have all this flow of air around the coldest part of the continent down in Antarctica, and it kind of cuts it off. It's its own world. And that actually breaks down. The CFCs in the air break down, the ozone layer up high. It is something that is specific to being isolated over Antarctica. We understand it. We've stopped using CFCs, and that will get better with time. And so now we understand the ozone hole, and we actually understand now that it's not going to spread across the rest of the planet. I digressed a little bit. So what other cool things we can do with Null School is not only can we show what's going on right now, but it uses the GFS model, and we can move forward in time. And I'm moving this forward in time, and you can see the cool air mass. Look at that coolness spreading over the Midwestern states. So a high is coming on down and it'll cool off, but we're really not going to get much of the cooling. So you can play with different settings. You can see computer models. You can play this forward and see how things will change in the future. And you have other things other than temperature, wind. You can get some severe weather projections, and it'll tell you what you have. It'll tell you what time period you're looking at. I'm going to jump right back down to now. So, and again, we can go to the end of the GFS model here that it has in at this point in time, which is the 21st, tomorrow at 1400 local, which means 2 p.m. our time. And let's let the winds catch up. And it may have gone too far for the model for the wind part of it. But you can see some cool air moving on into the northern plains. And we are going to have, we're going to still be warm. But that front is going to move through, and that's what's going to give us some gorgeous weather as we head on into the middle of the nation. So, wanted you to check it out. Again, at the top of the screen, earth.nullschool.net. Check it out. Have fun with it. It is just something so neat. You can look at sea level pressure. There's just so many things. If you're interested in the weather, this is definitely something you want to take a look at. You can look at the ocean. You can look at different particulates in the air. It is just something really cool to look at. Of course, for me, I just love looking at Mother Earth and what's going on at Mother Earth at any point in time to really understand the things across our planet, and looking at the winds and everything. I just find it all marvelous. All right, well, that's today's edition of That's Cool. I'll think of something really cool to show you next week. I hope you enjoy, and if you have any questions or if you have a suggestion, go ahead and send it to me at jmurgo@wtajtv.com.